Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. I have a high honor today in the Bullpen. I have none other than the grandson of the luminary President Jimmy Carter. We celebrated his transition not too long ago on this program. Jason Carter is on the show. Also, we have Judge Gino Brogdon. We're going to talk about a couple of things. One, Igniting Change event happening on the 23rd of this month. It is a great way to celebrate those in the legal community, those who are public defenders. John Rapping is the founder of this organization, giving public defenders access to training, resources, and truly encouragement because they are fighting for the equitable outcomes that we all talk about. And his book, Gideon's Promise, I got that book first year of law school, one of the greatest books you'll ever get. I encourage you, even if you're not in law studies or wanting to be an attorney, get that book. It will help you understand the criminal justice system in its full context. And honoring the luminary will be Gideon's Promise coming up. Jason, Judge, good day to both of you. How are you?
Doing well, Dr. Richey. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing quite well. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're
Jason,
excited.
Yeah, man. Jason, let's talk first about the importance not only of public defenders in the context of the overall criminal justice system, because we don't talk about it enough, and we should talk about it more. And your grandfather, who is more than worthy of this honor, receiving this prestigious honor. Obviously, he's with all of us in spirit now. But what does it mean for you to be receiving this honor on his behalf?
So I think a couple things. Number one, obviously, it's an honor for my family to be associated with Gideon's Promise. It's a organization and it's a group of people that we believe in, right? I mean, people say we have human rights, we have the rights in this country that are supported by our Constitution, and the only way we know that is true is if we have the right to counsel, and the folks that we provide as a community to be public defenders, they need the support that Gideon's Promise gives them. And to your point, they don't get it enough. But this organization is a great one, so it's a great honor. And of course, my grandfather. One of the things I'm going to do at this event is give some excerpts from this speech that my grandfather gave on Law Day in 1974, and I'm going to tell you that's 50 years ago now, before I was born. But you could read some of those words about the issues in our legal system, and they apply just as much today as they did in those old prophetic days when he was giving the speeches. And so I'm looking forward to talking about his relationship with the legal system and supporting Gideon's Promise.
Jason, President Carter, as you are well aware, was so ahead of his time. And I feel that he's one of those individuals in the history of humanity who understood the need to evolve human consciousness and how to engage individuals in group thinking to evolve that level of consciousness. I was reminded by some people who still serve in the state house and state senate. We call them the gatekeepers. But they said, man, Carter knew how to navigate with everyone. And if you could, Jason, talk to us about his navigational skills, because today we're living in a more polarized political culture than seemingly ever before, at least in our lifetime. And we don't have good navigators anymore. Talk to us about his navigational skills.
Yeah, that's a really great framing, Rashad. I think that one of the things that he was able to do is connect directly with people, right? He also, when he got power, he used it for good, right? He was changing his own consciousness as he was moving through his political career, right? I mean, he came up in the segregated South. He came up through the school board down in Sumter County. He came up in the state Senate, and then by the time he got elected governor, governor and felt that mantle of responsibility, he realized that his first statement as the governor of Georgia was going to be that the time for racial discrimination is over. He was going to put that portrait of Martin Luther King in the state capitol because it was every person's house, right? And then when he became president, after having the ability to connect with people, he again used that moment to do what he thought was right. And I think that that's really how you act when you get significant power, is really one of the most revelatory things about a human being. And I think we've seen good, we've seen bad, and I like to think that Jimmy Carter is a great example of what happens when you can take your own consciousness, put it on display in those moments when you have real power and use it to do good for people.
Very well said. I agree with you about his evolution. What one lawmaker put it this way, said, even though he had to depend on some Southern votes, obviously, we just trusted Jimmy, is what they said. We trusted that when he got into power, he was going to do the right thing, and we trusted him to do that. He did so. Judge Brogdon, let me go to you about Gideon's promise and why this is so important. I say this often to my students as a professor. One of the most left out parts of the conversation of criminal justice reform is the reality of the public defender. We can't talk about reform without talking about the group who every day is in the position of advocating for an equitable outcome for people who may not be able to afford an attorney. So talk to us about that.
There cannot be a time that is more pressing and pressing in need of good public defenders. We are drowning in a sea of misconceptions. There are people who think that public defenders are lawyers who couldn't find a job, so they went and became public defenders. There are people who think that it is the prosecutor only that represents the state. Well, public defenders represent the people too.
That's
in
right.
fact, the public defender's job is to make sure that the state proves what the law says they have to prove. That is the public defender's job. That is the balance in those scales. And we live in a time now where due process is on the chopping block. It is subjective. It is a throwaway to some people. And now is when we need public defenders. Talented people, well-trained people, and people who are committed to the mission of speaking for people who can't speak for themselves. Right now is the time. And Gideon's promise, the job that Gideon's promise does with these young lawyers, is something really, truly special to behold. They're not simply training lawyers, they're sending warriors into courtrooms, because the courtroom has always been the battleground. Now it's the final frontier. Now the courtroom is the distance between liberation and incarceration, liberation and no freedom. The courtroom is the place to be, and we gotta have organizations like Gideon's Promise and others with full support, because they represent us. I've told a number of young lawyers that due process, the right to remain silent, the right to confront your accusers, all these things that the Constitution guarantees are not for the guilty. They're for the innocent, because you are innocent until a jury says so. So it is to protect the people. I encourage public defenders, when they get up and introduce themselves to the jury, they should say, I am Gino, not my name, but I am Jason Carter. I'm here to represent the people, not just that person sitting over there that's accused, but I represent all the people who could be sitting there. There is no time that's more important than now for talented, well-funded, well-supported public defenders. And Gideon's Promise does that and sends some amazing lawyers in the courtrooms.
Man, I echo that. It's so important that the public defender is constitutionally mandated.
Yep.
You have a right to counsel. 17 years old. I was 17 years old. I was a foster kid in DeKalb County. Glenwood Road. I was caught up in mess, living a reckless life. And the state of Georgia had recently passed a law that made every 17-year-old an adult in the context of criminal prosecution. I wasn't familiar with the law, wasn't familiar with the updated version of it. And I got arrested, 17. I'm assuming we're headed to Panthersville Juvenile, where I had always gone if I was in DeKalb County. And I remember this officer said, if you're going to break the law, son, you need to learn it. You're going to real jail. It was a public defender named Gail Bacon at that time, who is still working in the public defender's office today, that gave me such adequate counsel, advocated for me. She was appointed as a public defender whose specialty is representing juveniles being prosecuted as adults. And I don't know if you all remember this guy, but Judge Hancock was my judge. They called him Hang'em Hancock.
Yeah,
good brother today. We're on good terms today. She convinced Hancock to give me the First Offenders Act. That First Offenders Act came with some rules. At that time, the district attorney created this mentoring program where you had to get your GED or finish high school. Then you had to get a job or go to college. And I went to college, okay? I did all of my community service hours. I had 100. And it was because of that program I'm sitting here today as a felony-free Black male who got a second chance at life, who now gives back to that same community. And that's why I come and host this event that we will be at in just a few days. And guess what? Gail Bacon was trained where? Gideon's Promise.
That's an incredible story. That's an incredible story. And it's an illustration of how high the stakes are when people don't get proper representation.
That's right.
An event like you, we would never even know about had you not gotten a really good trained public defender who was willing to go in there and fight for you to have a real chance. And that's what we need. I love that story. I love it.
And I'll just tell you this, if you don't mind, Rashad, I love the story too. And we've been watching people, right? And maybe I don't see myself in your story necessarily, but really when we see folks that are swept up off the street today and have their rights extinguished, and have the government say, you actually don't have the right to confront your accuser. You don't have the right to do this. If they can extinguish one person's rights, they can extinguish anyone's rights. And that's why what Gino said is so important about ensuring that everybody, frankly, even the guiltiest people around, have those rights. And we got to make sure that we protect them fundamentally. And so we should all see ourselves in all of these stories, because that is what it's about. It's about if they can extinguish one person's rights, you could be that person, period.
100%. And as we say here, ain't nobody guilty until proven guilty by a court of law. Everyone is innocent, presumably. Very thankful for both of you all. Producers, let's put that back up for those who may want to attend or even contribute to Gideon's Promise on the 23rd of this month. Igniting change, fueling public defenders, transforming culture. Also, Jason Carter, very proud of the work that the Carter Center continues to do. You at the leadership chair as chairman, and I work through the advocacy for making sure we have an opportunity to engage in a multi-partisan way to come together to strengthen civility and democracy through the Democracy Resilience Program. Very proud of that continued work. And to both of you gentlemen, very proud of your continued leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Richey. Appreciate you.
Thank you all. I'll see you in a few days.
Yes, sir.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right.